team is the star, so to speak, not the individual. I think I was so nervous because I was like, I'm a failure if I don't do well. I don't need to throw this like, I'm the boss mentality. I've always felt less value if I'm not like the star or like making an impact in the team. For years, and like maybe even to this day, I still have like nightmares about it. When I am anxious or nervous about the future, I'm like, just look around, for like, just take a moment, just take stock. There's a lot of good stuff going on.
Welcome to Losing the Plot. It is the season finale, and I know what you're probably thinking. Max has got cooler, he's got better looking, all these different things, but it's because I am not Max. I am going to be interviewing Max today. So first things first, welcome to our podcast studio. And thanks for coming on our podcast.
Pleasure. It's been a long journey to my basement. I thought you were talking about me to begin with. Like, Max has got better looking throughout the podcast.
Me constantly advising you like, how to dress.
I thought you'd been like, since the start of the podcast, he's now wearing baggy trousers and like cool t-shirts. I thought that's what you meant. I was like,
desperate for people to pick up on the fact that you are now dressing cooler.
Exactly, dressing like you.
No, I was talking about myself, but you as well. You have been making the effort. So, first things first, like we asked all of our guests, when did you last lose the plot?
I should have known this was coming, and I stupidly didn't. The last time I lost the plot, actually, which Sasha had a go at me for, was my eldest daughter. She was waking up like on the bounce at 5:30 every day, and then like one day she got up, and I was like, why can't you? I was like in her room. I was like, why can't you sleep? I was like, I'm so tired. I was like, please. I was like, I can't be a good dad. I can't work if you're not sleeping. And I was like pleading with her, and then she was getting upset, and I was just like, oh. And I gave in and like brought her down and gave her breakfast. And then I had a whole chat with Sasha about it because she was like, you're so loud. She was like, you think you're helping her go to sleep, but you're not. You're just making it worse for her. So yeah, I wasn't like angry at her. I almost like lost the plot in myself. I was like, this is too much. I just need to sleep. But then I apologized about it.
You made up for it.
I made up. I came and sat down. I was listening to Diary of a CEO with a...
You in your podcast era now.
Exactly, big in my podcast era. And I was listening to a psychologist that was on that Sasha recommended me to listen to. And she was talking about like these moments with kids. And then I came back. I literally had this moment with my eldest. Went out for a walk with my dog, listened to it, came back, and I was just like, I need to apologise. And I just sat down with her and I was like, I just wanted to say I'm really sorry. Like sometimes I'm really tired and it brings out like the worst in me. I was like, but it's not your fault. It's okay if you wake up early because you're hungry. And I did it I was like, it's the right thing to do. And Sasha was there and she was like, I'm really proud of you for doing that. I was like, that wasn't the purpose.
No, but that is actually quite interesting. So you would speak to your child in an honest and open way. Like that's a very mature chat to be having with your child.
Yeah, which they say like you're supposed to do, like as much as possible, speak to your child like they understand.
From what sort of age is that?
I think from, I don't know when it starts. Like I'm not an expert in this at all, but like I try to talk to my eldest as much as possible. Normally, obviously, I'm very like playful, whatever. Obviously, you saw her just before and like messing around, and she's got cushion head with her today, which is her balloon, which has a hat on.
Great hat.
Arsenal hat. But yeah, I think maybe that's why as well, like she tells us like a lot of stuff is very open. Maybe it's because we've always had that dialogue and coming back to what you're saying before, like showing we're not perfect, like we make mistakes, we get emotional, because then she's allowed to know, okay, she can get emotional and that's fine. And then it's like, how does she realise it? How can she handle it better next time? So ultimately, we've probably got a model as parents how we want her to react emotionally.
You started a family quite young, you got married quite young. Has that affected the way that you do parent your kids and you do go about that sort of thing?
Well, first of all, so I'd say, as you say, by today's standards, we probably got married young-ish. Not crazy young, but young-ish. But we didn't like rush to have kids. So we were married for 4 years before we had our eldest. And that was a conscious choice. It was like, we knew we wanted to be together. We've been together since I was 18 and she was 16. And we come then 25 and 23. It's like, okay, we've been together quite a long time. But whilst we want to be together and we know we want to marry each other, we're not ready to have kids yet. Like, I think we both realised, okay, that is a big life step in terms of changing habits and commitment, sleep, everything. So we took our time, like we had an amazing honeymoon, did like a 3-month traveling in Southeast Asia, because I hate the concept of going for like a 7 to 10 day, like really expensive honeymoon. I was like, screw that, let's go for like a sick traveling thing. And we stayed in like nice hostels for ages and whatever. Anyway, so Sasha is like really on it when it comes to, she is a therapist and she studies psychology. So she's really like knowledgeable as to like the theories behind parenting. And you've got like old theories like how kids attach their parents and different attachment styles. And it's all based on how you are with your kids in their early years. So she's been like massive on how we are with them from the get-go. And like she sends me like articles or whatever and is like, here's how you can be the best parent possible. So I've therefore like listened to a lot. The downside is, I guess, perhaps like I or we are sometimes a bit judgy of how other parents are, because we're like, we want to be really present for our kids and we want to treat them with respect. Like if they're crying, not be like, oh, look at this happy thing over there, or like, oh, or one thing they say is like, don't say, oh, silly chair bumped you. It's like, no, you bumped into the chair. That's okay. You can cry, you talk it through, and just be with them when they're emotional. Like that's the biggest thing for us, is like, it's okay for them to be upset, because actually sitting with them, letting them know that you're there when they're emotional, they come out of it quicker and they learn to self-regulate, as opposed to distracting them to essentially try and be happy or force happy.
Interesting. You mentioned before about how you got married and you knew you didn't want to have kids straight away, and you set that time for yourselves. And I think a big issue in today's society, there's a lot of pressure, right?
Yeah.
And it's the common stereotype is to get married and then, please God, try for kids soon after. And I think it takes a certain something to say, you know what, I'm actually not going to rush into that. No matter what other people say, no matter what the expectations are, I'm going to do it my own way. And I feel like that kind of links to how you are as a person. You have a very refreshing take on how you run your business and how you manage Kyte Property. How has that been something that has transpired, that growing up you've decided to say, I'm going to step away from what the expected path for me is, and I'm going to do my own thing and carve my own way in life?
It's a very tough question. That's very multifaceted, because obviously you started almost on the personal front and then bring it into.
Would you not say they're linked at all? Maybe subconsciously for the work side?
Yeah, they probably are. I think a big thing for me is I generally like to treat people with kindness, and I want the best for other people. And I think that's down to like key people in my life showing me like that's how I want to be. Like, I don't know if this is why I messaged him, but like, I messaged a guy. I know what happened. Let me explain a string of thoughts. So yesterday, I came to the office and I went and parked outside because boring explanation here for the listeners. We have 3 parking spaces, of which we've got my dad parks in one, our accountant parks in the other, and then there's 1 spare. And I've always said first come, first served basis. And you're often there first because you don't have kids and whatever. But hardest grafter. Anyway, so I came in, it must have been like 9:05. I went and parked outside, and my dad called me and he was like, you should tell Charlie to move. I was like, no, it's like, I've always said it's first come, first served. And he was like, no, like, you should show. I was like, I don't care about like throwing authority around. He was like, you should be doing it. And I was like, honestly, it's fine. I said, and I was like, Charlie knows, like, if I ever really need it, I'll be like, do you mind moving? I was like, and Charlie will move. I was like, but I don't need to throw this, like, I'm the boss mentality, because I think I've always been a case of I want people to, like, win alongside me. Like, people I like, and, like, just, I don't know, just treat people as I would want to be treated. Coming back to what I was about to say is I messaged a guy who looked after me when I did an internship in New York at a brokerage. This is when I was 20 or 21. Just messaged him this morning because I was like, I'm going to New York, and we've kept in touch ever since. And he looked after me just like in the nicest way. Like, I was like sat next to him, like almost like watching him the whole time, but he just looked after me like in the office, outside the office. Like, he took me into like a jiu-jitsu class because he was like, oh, come do this with like my mate, it'd be great for you, like pay for it, like let me just like learn. And then in the office, there was an absolute arsehole who was like, oh, like go get coffees. And like he gave me money. Like I went to like the nearby Starbucks, picked up an order, came back, and I got like one thing slightly wrong, and I actually think he told me wrong.
Okay.
And I just remember this guy called Nature who looked after me. He was like, he's a fucking arsehole. Don't worry about him. Like he's just throwing it around because he's not happy in like other parts of his life. And like I saw it's moments like that where I've had someone who's looked after me in such like a caring way that I thought that's how I always want to be. So that might be where it stems from.
I was looking last week. I saw the Nottingham Forest manager,
Yeah.
Nuno Espirito,
Yeah.
whatever his name is. I don't know if you saw, there was videos of him after the game when they won.
Yeah.
And Nottingham Forest are doing very well at the moment. They're flying. And he was jumping on his players' back and he's dancing in the changing room and he's
He's one of them.
Yeah. And he says that is when you're going to find someone to be their most productive, when
Yeah.
they're actually enjoying what they're doing.
Yeah, completely.
Is that something for you that's been a conscious way that you want to manage and that's your management style?
I don't know if it's conscious or if it's just like how I am or like how I would want to be treated, therefore I try and do the same. And if I'm thinking about it, that's applied to me almost like in work and in football, as you probably heard me say before. Like I think people are very similar in work and in football. In football, I think I'm the same. Like I want to help people to be the best version of themselves. I'm thinking when I was like managing, when I was injured. And funnily enough, I was writing like a journal from the future, which was an exercise I was given from my my life coach with regards to this football tournament I'm doing in the summer.
Okay.
And in the tournament in the summer, I'm helping in the build up for organisation, fundraising, etc. But I'm also being a player. Now, something that I've always had trouble with, and I want us as a team to discuss, is I've always felt less value if I'm not like the star or like making an impact in the team. So like if I don't feel like I've started the game or like come on and really made a difference, if I came on and like just did play 10 minutes or I was on the bench, I feel like I wasn't really part of that win. That's how like I have historically felt. And I was writing this journal and I've said like I want to come off the back of this trip, and regardless of how much I play, I feel like I've been a key part of it. And as a team, every player feels that way. So the person who came and plays 30 minutes and the person who plays 300 minutes, they both come away and went like, I was a key part of this team's success. It doesn't matter if one person was the star or one wasn't, because without each and every one of us, we couldn't achieve as a team. So I want to have this mentality of like, the team is the star, so to speak, not the individual.
Yeah.
I want to make sure I become comfortable with not being the star from a playing point of view and still feel my worth.
But is that letting go of your ego?
I'm saying it probably is an ego thing. So like, when I've been a manager in the past, it's fine. Like I'm not playing at that point. Like I am just a manager. It's this point where I'm like, when I'm a player, I've always felt I don't have the same worth if I'm not being instrumental. And that's something that I want to try and unpack and work on myself and as a team.
Yeah, I think,
I think that leads into, I don't know how I've seen it with work. Yeah, it's like,
well,
if I'm not being really key, but we're doing well, I know I would be happy because I'm looking at it from like the manager perspective.
But I'll tell you how that does link into work, and that's because of something you said earlier, and you've always said, you want everyone to win together.
Yeah.
And that's that exact concept, right? I have always felt like if you do well, or the company does well, I will do well. You know, from your managers in the past and where places you've worked, have you ever encountered that or the flip side of it?
I would say probably lean towards more the flip side of it. And I guess when I've had the experiences of the way I like, it's resonated much more with me in terms of how I want to be, and therefore I have employed that tactic. But no, I've had people who have been my manager, boss, whatever, and I haven't liked how they operate. And for me, that's almost the bigger thing. It's like, what do I not want to be? And that's been a huge reflection point for me. But I think that was before. Like I started picking up on what I don't want to be. I think from when I was like 20, sorry, from like the year 2016, 17. So when I was like 20, 24, 25, I started seeing what I don't want to be. Like, I became really aware of it.
And you think from that moment that's almost shifted your mindset?
Yeah, I think that maybe that was like the precursor. Like, what do I not want to be? And then it became like reflecting on my own like experiences through life and like what was good, what was bad, what can I learn from it, and then how do I want to be going forward. So maybe I have always been like quite reflective. I think I've been in a fortunate position in my life in various ways that I haven't had to just like endure something because it's the only option. So I've almost had the freedom within reason to go, if I don't like something, I don't agree with it, I'm not going to be a part of it. Like, that's, I think, a luxury that I've been able to have.
Is that potentially linking to why you did decide to go and run Kyte Property and do this for yourself?
I left in Jan 2018, my previous company, which we were the equity backer for, but I was working as a land buyer, a member of staff for the company. There was a moment that happened where ultimately I saw very clearly for the first 2 years, I got sort of told by my boss, like, yeah, we're going to grow this, we're going to do this, what, together. And it was like a lot of this, like, together we can like be really successful. And I was like, so it's my first job. I was like, yeah, like I believe this, I'm so in it. And then there was this moment in I think it was maybe 2016, that I saw that I wasn't valued. Like, it was, to me, it was so clear. So I was just like, I need to think, what's my plan for the future? And I was like, okay, I'm going to try and learn as much as I can for the next 2 years. I remember saying to my dad, I was like, I'm not ready to leave yet. I can't do this on my own. But in 2, 3 years' time, I think I'll be able to.
Was that a scary decision for you? Was that a daunting thing?
No, again, because I think, I said, I've sort of had the luxury of, from a financial point of view, I've never thought I'm going to be absolutely effed if I don't have a job.
Mm-hmm.
So it meant that I was like, I'm leaving this. I didn't have the next thing set up, and I was like, but I know this isn't right for me. I need to go on a move elsewhere.
Yeah, but there also is the element of financials aside. It's no one wants to fail, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
Was there an element of you're worried that you may not be good enough to do that and to run it for yourself, or did you feel quite confident in that?
I think I did feel confident. I worry about it all the time now. Like, all the time, I'm like, are we going to make this work? Can we make this work? And there are times where I'm like, yeah, it's great. And like, we've just like sold out of something. And I'm like, oh yeah, I can do this. And other times I'm like, when's our next like big exit? Like, does this work? Like, I constantly move between, can we make this work or not? But I'm sure a lot of other people are like that, where, I mean, the people that I've interviewed, I'm not going to speak for certain individuals, as in name individuals, but some are like, yeah, like we had a really good year or two, and then the last year, like, it's just gone dead. And I'm sure those people are thinking the same thing, like, oh, it's like, is this going to last? Like, can we make this work? But everyone I speak to, or those people I've spoken to, they're always thinking, okay, so how do we make it work? What's the next step? Not just worrying it's not going to work. And I'm the same. So even though I'm worrying, how do we keep this going? I'm always making the steps to ensure it keeps on going.
On a business standpoint, I get that. But on a personal standpoint, what are your coping mechanisms for that? When, like you said, if you're feeling like, I don't know how this is going to work, or this isn't going well, how do you then deal with that and manage that?
This then comes back to the football analogy I was saying before. Like, if I'm not scoring and helping the team to win, like, what's my value? I've got a lot more comfortable on the personal, so on the work side of things with that. So I'm like, I'm giving this my best shot. I'm hoping it's going to work. Like, we're making sure it's working. But if it doesn't, I'll find something else. And I still have so many good things in my life. I think that's my biggest thing. It's like, all these other good things in my life, like my family, my friends, as in my immediate family, my friends, my wider family. Like, I look at, like, sometimes I stop and look around, and I'm like, I have everything if I look at it. Like some people maybe haven't found their partner. Some people weren't able to or struggling to have kids. Some people it might be the financial side. Some people it might be their physical health. Like I look at like my picture and I'm like, it's a bit, I feel like ridiculously lucky that across the board I'm pretty satisfied like with everything. And I think that's what sort of sometimes brings me back when I am anxious or worried, nervous about the future. I'm like, just look around for like, just take a moment, just take stock. There's a lot of good stuff going on. I think that's how I deal with it.
I think that's a real skill to be able to do that.
And I still get anxious a lot. I think I just have this like taking stock ability that I probably didn't used to have. And again, I think that's from working with my life coach, because essentially when I spend time with my life coach, I'm often just like reflecting on either the past or current status. And he actually has this thing. He's like, he has a wheel. So if you drew a circle and then you have like various points, like how's your love life? Like draw out how good your love life is out of 10. How's your work life? How's your friendships? How's your physical? And so it's like just taking stock and going, key pillars of your life, where are you out of 10 on them?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's things like that that has like just taught me how to take stock of my life. And sometimes if I'm like, so if I was to draw it now, I go, this week, my love life is down to where it normally is because like I've been out either football training, went to Arsenal, and Sasha was at Pilates and had a girls' dinner. It's like we haven't had evening time together. But I know that if we don't have time together, Sasha like starts to feel like more disconnected. I think maybe as a man, I'm not as bothered. I'm cool to be just like going, whatever. I know she needs time together. So I know that, okay, tonight we're spending time together. We'll like talk over dinner, no phones. We're going to watch Severance together. Very important. And so it's like, okay, but I'm aware of where we are on that love side. Then I'm aware of like, where am I on, I said the physical, the work, whatever. And it's rare that everything's at a 10.
Of course.
Because normally I guess something has to give. But things where I'm like, oh, like now I stop and look at it, I'm at like a 2 or a 3. I then notice and go, okay, how can I change it? So there was a point where like the physical side, I was like, I feel like crap because like I haven't been going to gym, I haven't been doing this. And then my life coach was like, what's holding you back? I was like, I'm just so busy, and like, you know, I know I need to be back for 6 to help with the kids or whatever. And he was like, okay, so you've been getting annoyed that you need to be back at 6 to be with the kids. What can you do if you want to improve your physical side? And I was like, probably just need to go to the gym I need to leave the office at 4:45, be at the gym for 5, and then I get 45 minutes, and then I can go home. He was like, cool, put it in your diary. So then I start, like you've probably seen in my diary, I'll put in like TGG for the gym group. I'll be like, I'm going to prioritize that. And things will suffer as a result. It might mean I'm working a bit less, but I know on the whole, I need to be in physical good shape to be like focused enough on everything else. Otherwise, I feel like crap.
But I feel like you're big into that. You're big into allowing time for yourself and to do the things behind the person as Max Kyte, director, Kyte Property. It's Max Kyte.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And putting yourself first. You book in your haircut, you put in the diary. You need to do this or you come in late. You know, there's then countless hours that nobody sees behind the scenes when you're working. But that's been a big thing that you've expressed to me and expressed to all of us. If you need to do something, cool. Like, there's no problem.
It's my view, and perhaps it's how I am. I know I'll make up for it elsewhere, or I know you will. Like I'm sure you've seen, like sometimes, maybe not as much, but sometimes I'll be like in the zone from like 8 p.m. to 1 a.m. and I'm just like on it work-wise. I'm just like, I need to catch up. I need to do it. I'm doing that all like massive out of hours work. But I know like you'll do the same. Like you'll message me late at night, like, what about if we film this or do that? Like for me, it's a real give and take, and like the proof is in the pudding. If we weren't producing any content, or we'd never got the podcast off the ground, or you never created a brochure for things that we've sold, then I'd know. But I feel like I know you're working towards the wider picture. And ultimately, you know, if you help and these things succeed, you know, I reward back. Like I'm sure there's even times where you've been like, oh, that's great, like you've given a bonus on that and that. I'm like, well, yeah, you helped achieve the objective. So I'm not even doing that in like a purposeful way. I'm like, I just want you to know that you help us succeed, there's reward.
In my previous companies, if I would be told, no, you can't leave early, like, can't leave early, you have to be here till 5, to be here till 5:30, whatever it may be, and then you can sort your life out. At any opportunity when I did work from home, I probably then would take the piss a bit. And I probably would then go a bit on the other side of it and be like, you know what?
But also, I see this as well. Like, would you just been like in the office, but maybe like on the internet doing something else or whatever?
Sure.
And that's the thing. Like, I understand like people can't work like non-stop all day. Like, you need to have a bit of a break, whatever. I used to go on like Daily Mail a lot more. I was like, I'm bored. I want to look like I'm doing something. I never do it now because I'm like, I'm either working or I'm talking or whatever it is. Like, I've actually like completely like, I never have a moment where I'm like guilty on my computer anymore. I haven't had that for years. And for me, like, that's what I want. I know I'll come in sometimes from lunch and you're like headphones on and you're watching like the Love Island rerun.
Don't call me out here.
Yeah. No, but I'm like, I like that. It's like, cool. You want like, oh shit. And then like, you like put it on the desk. It's like, okay, cool. You're having your lunch, you're eating a bit, like, that's fine. But I think it's that sort of mentality that like some people are nervous that there's going to be a boss that sees it and doesn't like it. It's like, well, then you know yourself it's not the right thing to do. Whereas you took that example and went, cool, I'm relaxing, I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to get on to productive stuff afterwards.
It's creating an environment where you don't have to be on edge and scared of your boss.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And they, like you said, they walk into the room, you shut up. Like, far from the case, we'll be laughing, joking around, you walk into the room, it's, okay, now what do you think? And it links it back to you, and it creates a dynamic where nobody's on edge, nobody's anxious, nobody's worried of, if I do something wrong, I'm not remotely worried that I'm going to be called out, right? You will turn around to me and you'll say, okay, why did it go wrong?
Yeah.
Let's fix it. You know, what can we do going forward? And
we have that really open dialogue, like, as in almost, like, I had to apologise to you the other day. I was like, when you sent out the blanket emails to like our list of people, I was like, oh, it makes me feel a bit awkward because you sent it on my behalf, but it's too generic and it's not how I'd write. I could just tell you, but you were like, oh no, it's cool. You're like, I get it. But I think it's good that we have, and probably in the office we have that, just like a transparent dialogue that no one's got to hold back with what they're saying, because ultimately it's all to help each other, or at least our view on what helps each other.
when you at university, am I right in thinking you used to get very anxious?
I say first year I was like normal uni student, like finding way, like drinking, going out, whatever. And like I went to a decent number of lectures. In my second and third year, I don't think I went to a single lecture. I only went to classes because classes were registered and compulsory.
Wow.
So I just didn't go to anything. And you didn't even have like videoed lectures at that point. So I basically went through like second year, nothing, then like crammed at the end. And I did the same in my third year. And my anxiety in the end of my third year came from, and I like had for years, and like maybe even to this day, I still have like nightmares about it, where I'm massively underprepared for an exam. Because I got to Easter in my final year and I was like, I haven't been to a thing this year. I don't even know what like my modules are about. So I went to like all the cramming like sessions, and I just like, I networked like mad. I was like got all the notes from like everyone that I could get, and I'd like scan them, everything, and I crammed so hard for my finals. And I was on like, we're having like, I don't know, 5-6 Red Bulls a day. Like, and like crappy ones from the corner store. I was so like locked in that like I couldn't sleep. I remember like I'm like imagining it now. In my last year, be like, I think I was sleeping for like, I could sleep for 20 minutes at a time at night. Wow. And I just like, I can't sleep. I can't even sleep. I get up and I just work more. And I went through that period for like, let's call it a month, and that culminated in me thinking I was having a heart attack. And I was just having a panic attack. I think I was so nervous because I was like, I'm a failure if I don't do well. And like I got 2-1, like a mid 2-1, like perfectly reasonable, like good in the end. But I was so worried that I was going to fail, and then I would have been at uni for 3 years. My parents like supported me in terms of like going throughout, and I was like, my dad will fucking kill me. My mum will kill me. It's been a waste. Like, what have you been doing? Like, what are you going to do in the next phase of your life? Like, that's how I was viewing it. And I had the panic attack. My grandma met me at the hospital, brought me back, and I was like, I'm going to try and pull out my exam tomorrow because I'm underprepared. And I called my mum and I was like, I don't think I can do it. She was like, you're doing the exam. Anyway, I did the exam, all went fine. But I came home after that weekend, and we went to like someone for Friday night dinner to another family. And I came in and my dad was just like so chill. He was like, oh, like whatever, like if you don't do well, you don't do well. And I was just like, what? I was like, what do you mean? But like instantly I went from like, oh, I'm going to let them down to like, oh, if I fail, it is fine. Like it's not the end of the world. And like that was a really big moment for me. And I was like, oh, okay, like take perspective, take stock. Like if I fail, I'll come up with something else. Like there'll be another plan. So what if I don't go to like, at that point it was like, how will I get into like a job in finance? How will I get to one of the top 4, Deloitte, PwC, EY, etc. if I don't get my 2-1? And lo and behold, I didn't go into anything near that anyway. And I probably didn't need a degree to do what I'm doing now anyway.
That conversation that you had with your mum is almost so similar to like me and you.
Yeah.
Right? And, you know, we
mentioned with my mum or with my dad?
Your mum.
What?
Your mum.
She was like, you're doing it.
Your mum, when it's like, you know, take for example this podcast, right?
No, my dad said to me, it doesn't matter if you fail.
No, but it's not. Hang on a second. Yeah. Let me cook, okay? Your mum, your mum turned round and said, you called your mum and said, I don't want to, like, I'm going to fail, I can't do it, whatever.
Yeah.
And your mum said, no, you're doing it.
Yeah.
I've turned around to you before,
like
with this podcast, and said, we can't do it because of this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
You turned around and you said to me, set a date that we're doing it, and that's when we do it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like okay, well, figure this out and da-da-da-da-da. You said, nope, definitively, we are doing it. And you didn't allow me that chance to wiggle out of it.
Yeah.
And that was the best thing you could have done.
Yeah. And I imagine as well, I don't know for you if it was nice to go like, okay, I have to do this, but also it's okay if it fails.
You know, it's interesting, is this is the first series of the podcast, and we're still finding our way and figuring out things as we go, like we mentioned before. Not once has it been like, how many views does this episode get? If it's under this, it's not good.
Yeah.
Not once has it been like that. It's just been...
But that was also never our like objective.
Yeah.
On this.
But I think that's what a lot of people get stuck up on, right? Because
as in
the metrics.
Stuck on the results. Like, what are the metrics?
Exactly.
And like people have asked me recently, and I was like, I actually need to ask Charlie. I don't even know. But that's because I think probably the good thing that we've done with this is like we knew why we were doing this, and we've stuck with that. The purpose of this podcast was to like create content, get our name, our face out there, and have like a whole bank of clips or whatever that we can post at any time. And that's what we've done. So we did what we set out to do.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if anything else comes from that in terms of high viewership, like great, but like we're not trying to be
They're vanity aspects.
Yeah, exactly. And actually the things that we hoped would come from this in terms of people calling us more, us being on people's mind, like that's come to fruition.
You know, how have you found being the other side of the podcast interview? How have you found season 1 of the podcast?
It's been easy and enjoyable from this point of view. Hopefully haven't waffled too much. On the interview side, it's been great. I've just really enjoyed spending time with the people that I interviewed, learning things about them that I literally never knew before. And as I said to you before we started recording, a great thing has been I've either been able to refer people or people have asked for referrals to the guests, which I'm like, okay, great, people have come in. We've then sent them business off the back of it. 2 of the people I've put in touch to be working together on projects. And I'm trying to think what else. Just like, yeah, well, another 2 people we're trying to work on another deal together, like an £8 million deal together. So it's just been like really cool that like by creating this mini network of podcast guests, it's like created a bit of a holistic network that we're exploiting. So that's been cool.
I think that, you know, goes back to the way you are with people. You know, I actually remember this quite clearly. I came into your office once before our current setup that we had when we were in different rooms, and I saw on your phone you pulled up my contact information or something like that, and it said underneath girlfriend Jessie or something like that. And I remember at the time I was like, why have you got my girlfriend's name like on your phone, like under my contact? Like that was so weird. And I think I said to you, like, what is that all about? Do you want to explain?
Yeah, well, I think I got it from my dad actually originally. Like, naturally, without his phone as a reference point, he's so good at like knowing what's going on in people's lives and then connecting them to like so many other people. He's like ridiculously good at his mental network. So I just took it as like a little thing to be like, how can I know something about everyone? And for me, initially, it's so that I remember, but then after a while, like I know it automatically. Like I've got names in my phones that are just like so ridiculous because I know all the people that are in their lives now very well. But I did it at the time, so like I don't forget, I know something about them. So when they call me, I can be like, oh, how's so-and-so? And sometimes it's just like Jessie girlfriend, but other times I'm like, went to this university, like big Arsenal fan, like whatever it might be. So I have these talking points. And actually, someone called me this week who was the son of the owner of Pratt Muse, a deal that we did in 2016, something like that. And during us buying that process, I learned loads about Leyton Orient because the owner was a big Leyton Orient fan. Okay. But then when his son called me this week, he was like, oh, you know, like Orient, like we're up to this point. And I was just like, I know nothing about Orient anymore. I was like, I was just learning so that every time I called him, we're like, oh, tough game on the weekend, and just like build that rapport.
You were like constantly, you added them to one of your favourite teams, so you knew what was going on.
Yeah, I was always checking the scores, but ultimately it's probably like slightly fake that I was like following. But I think that comes down to actually something that I was taught by my ex-boss, which was like, try to be like a chameleon and blend in with whoever you're talking to. But to the point, it's funny now, like if Sasha sees me on a building site, she's like, you're fucking like, you're ridiculous. She's like, you put on like this wide boy accent.
It's hard man act.
It's not hard. It's like I'll drop my T's a bit, or like, yeah, I just become a bit less true version of myself.
But that's a skill.
It is, but yeah.
That's I don't see that as
I feel embarrassed. I think that's why. It's like, oh, I don't want to be this like posh boy, even though I'm sure they still think I'm a posh boy just because I'm like slightly dropping my S's and my T's.
Yeah, they're not suddenly thinking he's one of us, mistaking you for the brickie.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
It's probably human nature, just desire to fit in, I think.
Yeah, or to want to fit in.
Yeah.
Right? It's feeling like you want to fit in, so you need to adapt. It's growing up in school. If your friends were liking this, you'd have to like it, or you'd have to know about it, because otherwise you would be the one left out.
But it's crazy that like that goes when you're an adult.
What's that, sorry?
Like having to like something that your friends like. I don't know, if I think about now versus as a kid, like I couldn't care less about saying like what I do or don't like. Like I went to Sabrina Carpenter on the weekend with Sasha. Would I have been embarrassed about that when I was younger? Probably. Like big thing I explored with my life coach was just like, main word was like authenticity. Like I just want to be authentic myself and be with people who are authentic, because if I sense like someone is being inauthentic, I see it as they're lying, and I can't trust someone who's lying.
Cool. Okay, well, I think that pretty much wraps up the podcast. Coming into this, I wasn't sure how I would finish the episode, how sort of round it off or anything like that. But as I've gone on and speaking to you, I've had an idea of what we can do. And I think to bring the viewers involved into something we do in the office, you've had a haircut.
Oh, no. Have you thought about this during?
You've had a haircut, and for the audio listeners and the people watching, if you call out the person the next day for having a haircut, you can give them a slap on the back of their heads. If you forget to call them out, they get to slap you back. But I have remembered, and I know you were probably
I knew
very
I
annoyed.
wasn't going to see you the rest of the day.
I'm going to make the most of my opportunity. So to end it off, would you like to pass me your neck? I'll take off my ring. I'll be fair to you. Just a nice, gentle one. Won't go too hard. There we go.
Good connection. Good connection.
But yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you. Smashed it.
And that's the end of season 1.
That's it.
That's a wrap.
Hug to finish?
Yeah, that's hug to finish.
Seeing as we missed a couple. Love you, bro.